So he spoke, and the Greeks thundered out loud like a wave against the rocky promontory of a high headland when the south wind descends and whips up the seas. The waves, raised by winds from all quarters, never leave it in peace from any direction. They rose from the assembly at once and dispersed among the ships, where they lit fires in their huts and fed. Each man, as he sacrificed to one of the immortal gods, prayed that he might come through the grind of battle with his life. Agamemnon, lord of men, himself sacrificed a fatted 5-year-old ox to Zeus, almighty son of Cronus, and invited the senior advisors of the Greeks to attend. Nestor first of all, then Lord Idomeneus, the 2 Ajaxes, Diomedes, son of Tydeus, and for a 6th, Odysseus, equal in invention to Zeus. Menelaus, master of the battle cry, came without needing an invitation, since he knew very well how heavy his brother Agamemnon's burden was. Standing round the ox, they took up the sacrificial grains. Lord Agamemnon addressed them and prayed. Zeus, greatest and most glorious, God of the black cloud dwelling in the skies, grant that the sun may not set and darkness fall before I bring Priam's smoke-blackened palace crashing down. Send his gates up in flames and rip the tunic on Hector's chest. And at his side let many of his friends fall and bite the dust. So he spoke, but Zeus did not grant his prayer. He accepted the offering, but in return doubled his load of misery. When they had made their prayers and thrown the grain over the victim, they first drew back the animal's head and slit his throat and skinned it. Then for the god's portion they cut out the thigh bones, wrapped them in folds of fat, and laid raw meat from the rest of the animal above them. These pieces they burnt on spits stripped of leaves, then pierced the entrails and held them over the flames. When the god's portion had been consumed by fire, they ate the offal and then carved the rest of the victim into small pieces, pierced them with skewers, roasted them carefully, and drew them all off. When their work was done and the meal prepared, they feasted, and no one went without a fair share. Their hunger and thirst satisfied, Nestor, the Gerenian charioteer, began and spoke his mind to them. Most glorious son of Atreus, Agamemnon, lord of men, let us not prolong this meeting any more, nor put off the work that the god has set our hands to. Come, let the heralds of the bronze-armored Greeks gather the troops from the ships for battle. Then we could go round the whole Greek army together and soon unleash the dogs of war. So he spoke, and Agamemnon, lord of men, complied. He gave immediate orders to his clear-voiced heralds to call the long-haired Greeks to battle stations. They cried their summons, and the men quickly gathered. The Olympian-bred lords under Agamemnon bustled about marshalling the troops, and with them went grey-eyed Athene. She was holding her splendid cloak, the unfading, everlasting aegis from which 100 golden tassels flutter, all beautifully woven, each worth 100 head of cattle. Darting about with this, she raced through the ranks, urging the men forward, and filling the heart of every Greek with the courage to do battle and fight the enemy relentlessly. At once the prospect of battle became sweeter to them than returning in their hollow ships to the land of their fathers. As destructive fire ravages a great forest on the mountain heights, and the glint of the flames is seen from far away, so, as they fell in, the dazzling glitter of their magnificent bronze armor flashed through the air to the skies. Like the many flocks of birds, geese, cranes, or long-necked swans that gather in the Asian meadow by the streams of Cayster and wheel around here and there, revelling in their flight, and with a great racket spread out over the ground, and the meadow is filled with sound, so the many groups poured from their ships and their huts onto the plain of the river Scamander. And the earth beneath resounded intimidatingly to the tramp of marching men and horses' hoofs as they took their positions in the flowery meadow of Scamander, countless, as many as the leaves and flowers in their season. Like the many groups of busy flies that swarm around the sheepfold in spring when the milk splashes the pails, so many long-haired Greeks were drawn up on the plain against the Trojans, determined to smash through them. Like goatherds who easily sort out their wandering flocks of goats when they have become mixed up at pasture, so the commanders deployed men here and there to advance to battle. And in among them moved Lord Agamemnon, with head and eyes like those of Zeus, who delights in thunder, with a waist like the war god's, and a chest like Poseidon's. Like a bull that stands out clearly from all the cattle in a herd, conspicuous among the assembled cows, so Zeus made Agamemnon look that day, conspicuous among the crowd, and eclipsing all other warriors. Tell me now, you muses that live on Olympus, since you are goddesses, are present everywhere and know everything, while we men have only hearsay to go on and know nothing. Tell me who were the leaders and commanders of the Greeks. As for the rank and file, I could not name or even count them, not if I had 10 tongues and 10 mouths, a voice that could never tire, and a heart of bronze, unless you, muses of Olympus, daughters of Zeus, who drives the storm cloud, remind me of how many came to Ilium. So I shall list the captains and their ships from first to last. The contingent from Boeotia was commanded by Peneleos, Leitus, Arcesilaus, Protheno, and Clonius. The towns the Boeotians came from were Hyre and stony Aulis, Schinus and Scolus, Eteonus with its many ridges, Thespeia and Greia and spacious Mycalessus, Harma, Elysion and Erythri, Elion, Hyle and Petion, Ocalea and the stronghold of Medion, Cope, Eutresis and Thisbe, rich in doves, Coronea and grassy Haliartus, Platea, Glissas and the stronghold of Lower Thebes, sacred Onchestus, Poseidon's lovely grove, Arne with its many vines, and Medea, holy Nisa and remote Anthedon. This contingent under their commanders came in 50 ships with 120 young Boeotians in each. The contingent from Orchomenus, men from Aspledon and Minion Orchomenus, was commanded by Ascalaphus and Ialmenus. These two were sons of Ares. Astyoche, a modest young girl, had conceived them in the palace of her father Actor, son of Zeus. She had gone upstairs with the mighty war god and slept with him in secret. They had come in 30 hollow ships. The contingent from Phocis was commanded by Schedius and Epistrophus, sons of the great-hearted Iphitus, son of Naubolus. The towns they came from were Cyparissus and rocky Pytho, holy Crisa, Daulis, and Panopeus, around Animorea and Hyampolis, and the bright river Cephisus, and Lilaea, where the Cephisus rises. This contingent came under their commanders in 40 black ships. Their leaders marshalled the Phocian ranks and set them in their battle stations next to the Boeotians on the left. The contingent from Locris was led by swift-footed Ajax, son of Oileus, the lesser Ajax, not such a man as Ajax, son of Telamon, indeed inferior by far. He was short and wore linen body protection, but no Greek was his equal in spearmanship. The towns his following had come from were Sinus, Opois and Calliarus, Bessa, Scaphi and lovely Orgei, Taphi and Thronion, and around the streams of the river Boagrius. This contingent came under Ajax's command in 40 black ships manned by the Locrians, who live across the straits from holy Euboea. The contingent from Euboea consisted of the Abantes, breathing courage. The towns these men came from were Chalcis, Eretria, and Histea, with its many vines, Cerinthus by the sea, and the high fortress of Dius, and Charistus and Stera. They were all captained by Elephenor, ally of the war god, son of Chalcodon, and leader of the great-hearted Abantes. His followers were quick on their feet. They wore their hair long at the back, fighters hoping to lunge with their ash spears and rip through the armor on their enemies' chests. This contingent came under Elephenor's command in 40 black ships. The next contingent came from the stronghold of Athens, the community of great-hearted Erechtheus. Erechtheus was a child of the fruitful earth, who was brought up by Athena, daughter of Zeus. She had established him at Athens in her own rich temple, where Athenian youths offered him bulls and rams every year. This contingent was commanded by Menestheus, son of Peteus. He had no rival on earth in the art of handling infantry and chariots. Nestor was the only competition, and he was an older man. The Athenians came under Menestheus's command in 50 black ships. The contingent from Salamis was led by Ajax, son of Telamon, in 12 ships. He beat them where the Athenian force was stationed. The contingent from Argos contained men from the towns of Argos and well-walled Tiryns, from Hermione and Essene with their deep gulfs, from Treason, Ione and vine-clad Epidaurus, and from Aegina and Maces. They were commanded by Diomedes, master of the battle-cry, and Sthenthilus, son of far-famed Capaneus. Euryalus, a godlike man, son of Lord Mecisteus, son of Talaeus, had come as third in command, but Diomedes, master of the battle-cry, was in charge of the whole force. This contingent came under their commanders in 80 black ships. The contingent from Mycenae contained men from the stronghold of Mycenae, from wealthy Corinth and well-built Cleone, from Onei and lovely Erythrae, from Sicyon, where Adrestos reigned in early years, from Hyperece and lofty Gonoessa, Pellene and around Aegion, and from the whole length of the coast and the broad lands of Helice. Lord Agamemnon, son of Atreus, commanded these men in their 100 ships. His following was by far the finest and most numerous. He armed himself in gleaming bronze, exultant, and stood out among all the other warriors because he was the best man, commanding by far the largest force. The contingent from hollow Lacedaemon contained men from that lovely land with its many ravines, and men from Pharis, Sparta, and Messi, rich in doves, from Brysae and lovely Orgeae, from Amyclae and the seaside town of Hellas, from Aetylus and Laius. Menelaus, master of the battle-cry, brother of Agamemnon, commanded their 60 ships. They had a station separate from the Mysian contingent. Menelaus strode among them, confident in his readiness for action and urging them to battle. Nobody was more eager than he to take revenge for all the sweat and tears Helen had caused. The contingent from Pylos came from there, and from lovely Arene, from Thryon, where the river Alpheus is forded, from handsome Ethe, from Cyparissaeis, Amphigeneia, Teleus, and Hellas, and from Dorion, where the Muses met Thamyris, the Thracian poet, and ended his career while he was on his way from Oechalia and the home of Oechalian Eurytus. He had boasted that he would win a singing competition even if the Muses themselves, daughters of Zeus, who drives the storm-cloud, were to take part. This angered them. They paralyzed him, robbed him of the divine gift of song, and made him forget his lyre. Nestor, the Gerenian charioteer, commanded these men. They had come in 90 hollow ships. The contingent from Arcadia came from the lands where Mount Cyllene lifts its peak, and Epytus was buried, where men are trained in hand-to-hand fighting. The towns they came from were Phaneus, Orchomenus, rich in sheep, Rhipe, and Stratia, and windy Enespe, Tegea, and lovely Mantinea, Stymphelus, and Parasia. Lord Agapino, son of Ancaeus, commanded their 60 ships. Many Arcadians, expert fighters, boarded each ship. Agamemnon, lord of men, had himself given Agapino the well-benched ships in which to cross the wine-dark sea, as the Arcadians know nothing of seafaring. The contingent from Elis came from Buprasium and as much of the bright land of Elis as lies between Hermione, furthest Myrsinus, the Olenian rock, and Alesion. They had 4 commanders, each with 10 swift ships filled with these troops from Elis. Amphimachus, son of Styatus, and Thalpius, son of Eurytus, grandsons of Actor, commanded 2 squadrons. Mighty Diores, son of Amarynceus the third, and godlike Polyxenus, the son of Lord Agasthenes, Augeas' son, the fourth. The contingent from Dulichion came from there and the sacred Echinaean islands across the sea from Elis. Meges, equal of Ares and son of Phyleus, commanded them. Phyleus was a charioteer dear to Zeus who had quarrelled with his father and migrated to Dulichion. This contingent came under Meges' command in 40 black ships. The contingent from proud Cephallenia was led by Odysseus. It contained men from Ithaca and Neritos with its quivering leaves, from Crocylea and rugged Aegyptus, from forested Zakynthos and Samos and the mainland opposite the islands. Odysseus, equal in wisdom to Zeus, commanded these men. This contingent came under his command in 12 ships with crimson-painted bows. The contingent from Aetolia was led by Thoas, Andremon's son. It contained men from Pleuron and Olenus, Pylene, Chalcis by the sea, and rocky Calydon. Thoas led them because the sons of great-hearted Aeneas were dead. So was Aeneas himself, and so was auburn-haired Meleager, on whom lordship over all the Aetolians had devolved. This contingent came under Thoas's command in 40 black ships. The contingent from Elis came from Buprasium and as much of the bright land of Elis as lies between Hermione, furthest Myrsinus, the Olenian rock, and Elysium. They had 4 commanders, each with 10 swift ships filled with these troops from Elis. Amphimachus, son of Cteatus, and Thalpius, son of Eurytus, grandsons of Actor, commanded 2 squadrons. Mighty Diores, son of Amarynceus III, and godlike Polyxenus, the son of Lord Agasthenes, or Jesus' son, the 4th. The contingent from Crete was led by the great spearman Idomeneus. It contained men from Cnossus, from well-walled Gortyn, from Lyctus, Miletus, chalky Lycastus, Phaestus, and Rhytion, welcoming towns all of them, and other troops that had their homes in Crete with its 100 towns. The great spearman Idomeneus and Meriones, equal of the murderous war god Ares, led these troops. This contingent came under their 2 leaders' command in 80 black ships. The contingent from proud Rhodes was brought by Tlepolemus, the tall and handsome son of Heracles, in 9 ships. The Rhodians occupied 3 separate parts of the island, Lindus, Ilissus, and chalky Camerus. The famous spearman Tlepolemus, who led these forces, was son of mighty Heracles by Hastiochia. Heracles carried her off from Ephyre and the river Celis after sacking many of their chieftains' strongholds. Tlepolemus, when he had grown to manhood in the palace at Tiryns, killed his own father's uncle, Lysimnius, ally of the war god, who was an old man by then. Tlepolemus immediately built some ships, gathered a large following, and fled overseas, menaced as he was by the other sons and grandsons of mighty Heracles. Thus, as a fugitive and after many hardships, he reached Rhodes. His people settled in 3 districts according to their tribes and enjoyed the favour of Zeus, son of Cronus, lord of gods and men, who showered untold wealth on them. The contingent from Cyme was brought by Nereus in 3 trim ships. Nereus was son of Aglaea and Lord Charopus, the handsomest Greek that came to Ilium with the exception of matchless Achilles, but he was a weakling and his swallowing was small. The contingent from Kos, city of Eurypylus, contained men from that island, and Nisyrus, Crapathus, and Casus, and the Calydnian Isles. It was led by Phidippus and Antiphus, the 2 sons of Lord Thessalus, son of Heracles. This contingent came in 30 hollow ships. The Myrmidon contingent contained men that lived in Pelasgian Argos, from Arles and Alope, from Trachis, Phthia, and Hellas, land of lovely women. They were called Myrmidons, Hellenes, and Achaeans. Achilles led their 50 ships, but at this time they had forgotten the sound and fury of war, since there was no one to marshal them in battle order. For swift-footed godlike Achilles was lying by his ships, furious over fair-cheeked Briseis, the girl he had won from Lyrnessus by the sweat of his brow when he sacked Lyrnessus itself and stormed the walls of Thebes and brought down the spearmen Mynes and Epistrophus, the sons of Lord Eunus, Selepus' son. He lay there pining for this girl, but he was soon to arise.